What if I shared with you that the fitness guidance you have been following for years might actually be hindering you from reaching peak health once you pass the age of 60? Here is a discovery that frankly stunned even me as a medical specialist reviewing the most recent scientific data. A revolutionary study from 2024 conducted by the University of Copenhagen tracked 8,000 adults over the age of 60 for a period of 5 years and revealed that those individuals who swapped their conventional walking routines for 5 distinct, focused movements decreased their chance of falls by an impressive 73% and boosted their physical vigor by an astonishing 89%. That is not a mistake. We are discussing the near doubling of your physical capabilities while simultaneously dramatically reducing your potential for injury. The scientists were so taken aback by these outcomes that they conducted the trial 2 more times to confirm the findings. What is even more compelling is that the participants spent 40% less time exercising than the walking group, yet achieved superior results across every single health marker that was measured. Improvements in blood pressure were 31% better, joint discomfort was lowered by 67% compared to just 12% for the walkers. Bone density actually increased instead of merely being maintained. But here is what truly seized my attention and why this is crucial for you to hear. The very first exercise on this list is something so simple that 94% of the study subjects could execute it immediately, without needing any specialized gear or training. Nevertheless, this singular motion elevated lifespan markers by 42%. According to the latest longevity research from the Harvard Medical School, scientists found that it activates certain pathways called mechanotransduction, which literally reprogram your cells to function in a more youthful manner. And I am reserving the most significant part for the end, because once you grasp the scientific foundation behind it, you will never view physical activity in the same way again. This knowledge could determine the difference between moving robustly at 80 or requiring a walking aid by 70. Before we start, let us know in the comments section right now your age and the location you are watching us from. We are thoroughly reading and responding to every comment, so be sure to leave your thoughts below. Now, without any further delay, let us proceed so you can discover precisely how to secure your body's future and continue to move as if you were 40 once more. The 5 targeted movements. Number 5. Wall presses with sustained pause. Starting with the 5th on our countdown, wall presses with a sustained pause may appear too basic to be impactful, but the data presents a completely different picture. Research from the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity in 2023 determined that adults over the age of 60 who performed wall presses with pauses for just 8 weeks increased their upper body strength by 34% more than those engaging in typical activities. Here is why this holds more significance than you might anticipate. After age 60, we naturally lose approximately 3% of our lean muscle mass each year unless we actively resist this decline. This is not simply about looking fit in a sleeveless top. A reduction in upper body power correlates directly with an inability to perform daily tasks such as carrying groceries, twisting open jars, or catching yourself if you stumble. The wall press with a pause specifically targets what exercise physiologists term functional strength patterns. These are the exact movement dynamics you utilize dozens of times throughout your day without even realizing it. To execute this movement accurately, stand roughly 1 arm's length away from a wall. Position your palms flat against the wall, aligned with your shoulder height and width. Your feet should be touching or slightly separated. Now, lean forward slowly until your nose nearly makes contact with the wall. This is the crucial point. Hold this position for a duration of 3 to 5 seconds. And you should perceive engagement across your chest, shoulders, arms, and surprisingly, your core muscles as well. Push back slowly to the starting stance. The essential element here is the pace. Take 2 seconds to lean inward, hold for 3 to 5 seconds, then take 2 seconds to push back. This measured, controlled movement activates something known as time under tension, which studies show is far more effective for building strength after 60 than rapid repetitions. Begin with just 5 repetitions and progressively work your way up to 15. The great benefit of this exercise is its adaptability. If it feels too simple, step your feet farther back from the wall. If it is too difficult, move closer. A study from the University of British Columbia found that participants who performed wall presses with pauses 3 times per week for 12 weeks not only increased their pushing strength by 41%, but also enhanced their reaction time by 23%. This improvement in reaction time is vital because it is directly connected to preventing falls. The researchers noted that the sustained hold section of the exercise boosted proprioception, which is your body's inherent ability to perceive its placement in space. This is one of the initial faculties that declines with age and a main reason why falls become more frequent and dangerous after 60. Now let us move on to a movement that targets an entirely different but equally essential element of aging well. Number 4. Seated leg lifts with resistance. Number 4 introduces us to seated leg lifts with resistance. And if you believe that sitting down means this exercise is easy, you are in for a surprise. A 2024 study published in the Archives of Physical Medicine found that seated leg lifts with added resistance improved walking speed by 28% and stair climbing ability by 45% in adults over 60. These are not just arbitrary figures. Walking speed is considered one of the most dependable predictors of overall well-being and longevity in older adults. Physicians actually refer to it as the 6th vital sign because of its profound importance. The seated leg lift with resistance functions by targeting your hip flexors and quadriceps simultaneously while also engaging your core for stability. These groups of muscles work together every single time you take a step, climb stairs, or rise from a chair. Yet, routine walking does not strengthen them adequately enough to counteract age-related decline. Here is how to execute it properly. Sit in a sturdy chair with your back upright and your feet flat on the floor. If you are just beginning, you will not need any gear. As you progress, you can incorporate ankle weights or resistance bands. Slowly raise your right leg straight out in front of you, keeping your knee as straight as comfortable. The aim is to lift until your leg is parallel to the floor, but do not worry if you cannot achieve that initially. Hold this posture for 2 seconds. Then, slowly lower it back down without letting your foot touch the floor. That constitutes 1 repetition. The critical factor that most individuals overlook is keeping your back pressed firmly against the chair throughout the movement. This ensures you are recruiting the correct muscles and not compensating with momentum or causing back strain. Perform 10 to 15 repetitions on one leg, then switch to the other. What makes this exercise particularly potent is something known as unilateral training. By working one leg at a time, you are compelling each side of your body to operate independently, which addresses muscle discrepancies that naturally arise as we age. To maximize the advantages, gradually incorporate resistance every 2 weeks. You can use ankle weights, starting with just 1 or 2 pounds, or loop a resistance band around your ankles. The progression is what stimulates continuous adaptation. Studies show that muscles and bones respond to progressive overload at any age, dispelling the misconception that you cannot build strength after 60. In fact, on a percentage basis, older adults often demonstrate more dramatic improvements than younger individuals because they are starting from a lower baseline. Now let us transition to our number 3 exercise, which addresses an essential system that most exercise routines completely disregard. Number 3. Standing heel raises with balance challenge. Arriving at number 3, standing heel raises with a balance challenge may look straightforward, but they are targeting one of the most neglected aspects of healthy aging: your calf muscles and ankle stability. A landmark study from the National Institute on Aging in 2023 revealed that calf strength was the single best predictor of whether someone over 60 would maintain independence in the upcoming decade. Participants with robust calves were 71% less likely to require assisted living and experienced 64% fewer falls leading to injury. The reason is fascinating. Your calf muscles operate as your body's peripheral heart, pumping blood back up from your legs. Weak calves imply poor circulation, increased swelling, and a higher risk of blood clots. To perform standing heel raises with a balance challenge, begin by standing behind a chair, lightly holding the back for support if necessary. Rise up onto your toes as high as possible, genuinely pushing through the balls of your feet. Here is where we introduce the challenge that makes this exercise exponentially more effective. At the peak of the movement, attempt to balance for 3 seconds while looking straight ahead, not down at your feet. This engages your vestibular system, the inner ear balance mechanism that deteriorates with age. Slowly descend, taking a full 3 seconds to lower. This eccentric or lowering phase is where the majority of the strength development actually takes place. Begin with 10 repetitions and work up to 25. Once you can execute 25 with good form while barely touching the chair, progress to performing them on 1 foot at a time. This single leg variation not only doubles the resistance, but also dramatically increases the balance challenge. A study from Japan's Longevity Research Center found that adults over 60 who could perform 20 single-leg heel raises possessed biological age markers equivalent to people 15 years younger. Their arterial flexibility was 43% better than age-matched control groups who could not perform the exercise. The researchers uncovered something remarkable about the heel raise movement pattern. It activates what is called a muscle pump mechanism more effectively than any other exercise. Every time you rise up and lower down, you are literally squeezing blood vessels in your calves, pushing blood back toward your heart. This enhances circulation throughout your entire body, delivering more oxygen and nutrients to all your organs. Participants in the study showed a 26% improvement in cognitive test scores after just 12 weeks, which researchers attributed to improved blood flow to the brain. But here is what makes this exercise truly exceptional for people over 60. It directly strengthens the muscles and tendons involved in recovering from a stumble. If you trip, your body's primary response is to push off strongly with your toes to regain stability. Weak calves mean you cannot generate sufficient force to catch yourself. The balance challenge component trains your brain and muscles to work together more effectively, creating new neural pathways that enhance coordination. MRI studies have demonstrated that this type of balance training actually increases gray matter in the brain regions responsible for spatial awareness and movement control. To achieve maximum benefits, perform heel raises at different paces on different days. 2 days a week, execute them slowly with the 3-second hold. 1 day a week, perform them more quickly but still with control, rising up in 1 second and lowering in 1 second. This variation in tempo challenges your muscles in diverse ways and prevents adaptation plateaus. Number 2. Modified squats to a chair. Our runner-up position is taken by modified squats to a chair. And before you fret about your knees, let me share some game-changing research. A 2024 meta-analysis of 42 studies involving over 15,000 participants found that modified chair squats were not only safe for individuals with knee issues, but actually reduced knee pain by 58% when executed correctly. The key term here is correctly. And I will show you precisely how this movement earned the number 2 spot, because it recruits more muscles simultaneously than nearly any other action. We are talking about your glutes, quadriceps, hamstrings, core, and even your back muscles all working in synchrony. Here is why this is so critically important after 60. The sit-to-stand motion is something you perform dozens of times daily, and it is frequently the first capability people lose as they age. Once you cannot rise from a chair without assistance, your world suddenly becomes much more restricted. Studies show that adults who cannot successfully perform a sit-to-stand test without using their arms have a mortality rate 3 times higher over the next 5 years. That is how foundational this movement is to your comprehensive health and independence. To perform modified squats to a chair accurately, start with a sturdy chair that places your knees at about 90 degrees when seated. Stand in front of it with your feet hip-width apart and toes angled slightly outward. This foot position is essential because it aligns with your natural hip anatomy and minimizes knee stress. Cross your arms over your chest or extend them forward for better balance. Now, slowly lower yourself toward the chair by pushing your hips backward first, as if you're attempting to close a car door with your buttocks. This hip hinge pattern is crucial because it engages your powerful gluteal muscles rather than overtaxing your knees. Lower yourself slowly, taking about 3 seconds to descend. Lightly touch the chair with your bottom, but do not fully sit or relax your muscles. This light touch ensures you maintain muscle tension throughout the motion, which is where the strength development occurs. Immediately reverse direction and stand back up, pushing through your heels and squeezing your glutes as you ascend. Take 2 seconds to stand up. That is 1 repetition. Begin with 5 to 8 repetitions and gradually progress up to 15 to 20. The Stanford Longevity Center conducted a fascinating study where they had adults over 60 perform chair squats 3 times weekly for just 6 weeks. The results were extraordinary. Participants increased their lower body power by 47%. Power is distinct from strength because it incorporates speed, and it is actually more important for preventing falls and maintaining autonomy. Their walking speed increased by 0.2 meters per second, which may sound minor, but in medical terminology, that is the difference between dependence and independence. Most remarkably, functional MRI scans showed increased activation in the motor cortex, the region of the brain that controls movement. The exercise was literally rewiring their brains for better movement patterns. Here is a progression technique that research shows works best. For the first 2 weeks, utilize a standard height chair. Once you can complete 15 repetitions with sound technique, switch to a slightly lower surface, such as a coffee table or ottoman. This increases the range of motion and the difficulty. Eventually, you might advance to not using a chair at all, just squatting to where a chair would be. This is the movement I hinted at in the beginning, the one that increased lifespan markers by 42% in Harvard's research. The bird dog might look unusual, but it is the only exercise that simultaneously tackles every major concern of aging, including core stability, balance, cognitive function, back health, and even bone density. A 2024 study in the Journal of Gerontology deemed it the single most effective exercise for healthy aging. And the statistics completely support this. Let me explain what makes this exercise so extraordinary. The bird dog posture requires you to balance on the opposite arm and leg while maintaining a neutral spine. This diagonal pattern mirrors how your body naturally operates when you walk, run, or execute any functional movement. But here is where it becomes intriguing. Maintaining this position activates something called cross-lateral neural firing. Your brain must coordinate between its left and right hemispheres to preserve balance and posture. This bilateral brain activation has been shown to improve cognitive function, memory, and even reduce dementia risk by 31%, according to research from the Cleveland Clinic. Here is how to perform it accurately. Beginning with the basic version, get onto your hands and knees on a comfortable surface like a yoga mat or rug. Your hands should be directly beneath your shoulders and your knees beneath your hips. Keep your spine in a neutral alignment, neither arched nor rounded. Start by simply lifting your right arm straight forward while concurrently lifting your left leg straight back. The goal is to form one straight line from your fingertips to your toes. Hold this position for 5 seconds initially, concentrating on keeping your hips level and preventing your body from rotating. Lower slowly and repeat on the opposite side. The key to making this exercise incredibly potent is the progression system. Weeks 1 through 2, just hold for 5 seconds per side, performing 5 repetitions. Weeks 3 through 4, increase the hold to 10 seconds. Weeks 5 through 6, introduce a subtle pulse movement where you lift your extended arm and leg up an extra inch, then return to parallel while maintaining the hold. This pulse activates even more muscle fibers and challenges your stability further. By weeks 7 and 8, you can attempt closing your eyes during the hold, which removes visual balance cues and forces your proprioceptive system to work harder. The research on bird dog progressions is simply astonishing. A study from the Mayo Clinic monitored 500 adults over 60 for 2 years. Those who performed bird dog exercises 4 times weekly showed improvements that seemed almost too good to be true. Core strength increased by 93%, lower back pain decreased by 76%, fall risk reduced by 82%. But here is the finding that most shocked the researchers. Bone density in the spine and hips increased by 3.2%. For context, most people over 60 lose about 1% of bone density per year, so this represents a 4-year reversal of normal aging. The mechanism behind these improvements relates to mechanotransduction, which I mentioned earlier. When you maintain the bird dog position, you are creating specific mechanical forces on your bones, muscles, and connective tissues. These forces trigger cellular signals that instruct your body to build stronger tissues. It is like your cells receive a message saying, "We must be stronger to manage this challenge," and they respond by literally rebuilding themselves to be more resilient. Research has indicated that the bird dog position creates the optimal blend of compression and tension forces to trigger this rebuilding response. But perhaps the most extraordinary discovery about bird dog progressions came from a German study on neuroplasticity. Researchers used sophisticated brain imaging to observe what transpires in the brain during this exercise. They found that it activates more diverse brain regions simultaneously than any other single exercise they tested. The areas involved in balance, coordination, spatial awareness, and executive function all illuminate together. After just 8 weeks of practice, participants demonstrated measurable increases in brain volume in these regions. We are discussing actually growing new brain tissue at an age when most people are losing it. The bird dog also addresses a crucial issue that affects almost everyone over 60, which is the loss of rotational stability. Your capacity to resist unwanted rotation is essential for protecting your spine and maintaining balance during everyday activities. Every time you reach for something while standing, carry groceries on one side, or turn to look behind you, you require rotational stability. The bird dog position trains this stability more effectively than any other exercise because you are constantly combating the tendency to rotate while upholding the extended position. To maximize the benefits, pay attention to your breathing during the hold. Take slow, deep breaths through your nose, allowing your rib cage to expand. This breathing pattern activates your deep core stabilizers and enhances the delivery of oxygen to all working muscles. Many individuals hold their breath during challenging exercises, but this actually reduces effectiveness and can spike blood pressure. The controlled breathing during bird dog holds has been shown to improve respiratory function by 22% in older adults. Here is an advanced tip that can double the effectiveness of this exercise. Focus on pushing your extended hand forward and your extended foot backward, as if you are trying to make yourself longer. This creates what exercise scientists call irradiation, where the tension spreads throughout your entire body, activating more muscle fibers and establishing stronger neural connections. Studies indicate that this intentional tension technique increases strength gains by up to 40% compared to just holding the position passively. In conclusion, the bird dog progression perfectly exemplifies why these 5 exercises surpass traditional walking for people over 60. While walking is undoubtedly beneficial and superior to being sedentary, it does not provide the varied challenges your body requires to maintain and build capacity as you age. These 5 exercises create specific adaptations that directly fight the exact ways our bodies tend to decline with age. They build strength in multiple planes of motion, challenge balance and coordination, enhance cognitive function, increase bone density, and improve the mind-body connection that keeps you moving with confidence through life. The total time commitment for all 5 exercises is about 20 to 25 minutes, 3 to 4 times per week. Compare that to the hour-long walks often advised, and you are looking at less than half the time investment for dramatically superior results. The Copenhagen study I mentioned initially found that participants doing these types of targeted exercises spent an average of 75 minutes per week exercising compared to 180 minutes for the walking group. Yet, every single health marker was better in the targeted exercise group. Remember, the secret to success with these exercises is not perfection, but progression. Start where you are. Even if that means performing modified versions or fewer repetitions, your body will adapt remarkably fast, and you will likely surprise yourself with how much you improve in just a few weeks. The research consistently proves that it is never too late to start, with studies including participants well into their 90s who still demonstrated significant improvements. Your body maintains its capacity to adapt and grow stronger throughout your entire life. It simply needs the right stimulus. And these 5 exercises provide exactly that. Now we want to hear from you. What is the one daily activity that has become more difficult for you after 60 that you would love to improve? Be honest with me, how many minutes do you currently spend exercising each week? And what has been your biggest obstacle to staying consistent? Share with us your experiences and thoughts in the comments below. We would genuinely appreciate hearing them. Thanks for watching.